Good morning, everybody. So just a quick show of hands. Who was here yesterday? We got a few. So okay, there'll be just a little bit of rollover from yesterday, and also just for the purpose of recording, I'll do an intro for the new ones and for the camera. So my name is Bryan Walstrom. I feel very blessed to work in an industry that's it's been a hobby, passion that has turned to a full-time career. I don't really call it a job, but it is work. I own the Experimental Aircraft channel, which is a weekly show I produce, and we distribute directly to YouTube and cut it up to put across different social media channels to promote that, of course. We've done over 500 episodes to date, over 8 years. That equates to about 34 million views during that time, and it's about 4 million views per year. We exist to promote aviation and the kit builder side of aviation. So it's a big hobby. You know, we've got a dozen or more, and it's growing, of kit providers that you can order a kit and build an airplane from your house, from your own garage, and get it into the air. So we do interviews with builders, sometimes at their hangars, at their house, at their kitchen tables sometimes, on certain subcomponents that are small enough to be built at their kitchen counters. I also do factory tours and how it's made style videos. I've always really enjoyed, like Discovery Channel and how it's made shows over the years. And I've kind of adopted that into our stylization and what we kind of offer on our show, because I love to see how things are made and built, seeing raw materials come in the front door and the product out the back door, you know, complete and ready to go. This is a full-time venture for us. Again, we started 8 years ago, and it's been a full-time single income for us for the past 7 years. So that I feel very blessed that about a year of doing this, we went full-time with it. My wife is here with me, Katie Walstrom. We have 3 little girls, Jetta, Aviana, and Skyla. Yes, they are aviation themed. I had a lot of fun with that. For all of you that are new to, you know, trying to start up a YouTube channel, just to give you a little hope, I had zero background in editing. I didn't even really hold a camera other than like a quick little, you know, photo for the family or something like that. So everything you can learn, and YouTube obviously is a great platform to be able to learn from, and that's honestly where I learned most everything that I am doing today. And just a quick run through, I know I did this yesterday, but just to show the tools of the trade that I use, and again, how simply, if you want to start a YouTube channel, if you're just starting out, what to look for as far as being very savvy. I literally started with a Canon kit camera. I paid, I think it was like $500 or $600. It's what you see here. That came in the kit. A few months later down the road, I ended up buying a GoPro simply just to walk around, to have kind of like a dolly cam, smoother motion, which I know you can have on your iPhone these days. You know, this is, again, 8 years ago. Things have gotten a lot better. So that's what I started with, and then as I went, I just kind of progressed along, wanting a little bit more of a dynamic, you know, video. I invested in a DJI drone Mavic 2 a couple years ago. Nice package. I think it was, again, about $450 at the time, where you get the drone and a 3-pack battery pack and charger, and that really kind of changes the game a little bit to having different, you know, camera angles and things like that. I do use it sometimes at airports, air shows, but if I do that, I'm usually only, you know, yay high just to get a rolling dolly action around an airplane. I mean, I do work in aviation and doing that kind of stuff. I invested in just a transceiver radio so I can hear aircraft when they're coming in or out. And this is at uncontrolled airports, by the way, not big like international airports. There's a really popular segment of aviation called STOL, short takeoff or land. And there is a group of guys that started the National STOL competition. And that's the type of airplane, if you see on video or news, the big tires and the tail dragger, high wing aircraft, they can land almost anywhere. So I started covering that, and again, with the kit camera, I'm not really a camera guy with glass and lenses. This is like an 18 to 55, and I just kind of stick with that. So I bought a camcorder for mainly the long shots, and this has like almost infinite zoom, and it works really well. So, and it's a real simple tripod with a very fluid head to be able to have, you know, a smoother pan. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's been 8 years, and this is my tools in the toolbox, and I've been able to make a living out of this, and again, progressing from very inexpensive. This is the most expensive I've ever spent, most amount of money I've ever spent on a camera. That was like $1,500 bucks. I think it's XA40, right? So you can start cheap. I did discover, if you're looking at these DJI drones, that DJI only likes to work with a few phones. And so I have an iPhone, but that's the only thing I use it with is the DJI, because it's most compatible with that. Real quickly, just the elephant in the room here. I did not put this up here because it's my idol or anything like that. I'm that proud of it. But this is what the silver play button looks like after 100,000 views. YouTube sends it to you as a thank you for making them lots and lots and lots of money. But it is interesting. It's fun to have. But honestly, I don't even hang it up on the wall. It goes back into this box that it came in. And anyway. So moving on to just a real quick clip I'll show you. When you start out, obviously you don't know very much on anything, right? And that was me. And you can start where you're at, right? I would say if you can practice and edit and play back, show your family and friends and that kind of stuff, if you want to at least somewhat polish before you show the world what you're doing, right? Just a little bit. But at the same time, you will learn by doing. And as I mentioned yesterday and talking about creating content, which is the purpose of by being here and showing this film festival, is practice. All right, so practice, practice, practice. You will get better at it. And so I want to show you, oftentimes we say that the first is the worst, right? And I'm no different. Some of the first bit of content that I created, and what I mean by that is you're going to see in this short clip I'm going to show, the camera's out of focus, or like my talent's in focus, or I'm out of focus and it switches and things like that, or just how I'm wording things. But you have to start somewhere. And honestly, this video is the video that got our start. This is what got us monetized in a very short time. So I think it just goes to prove also that even all these little flaws that you might have, is the story and the content is what really, really matters, and audio, okay? Audio is really, really important. So this is an old clip from 8 years ago. The room is not spinning. Okay, so today we're here with Elena Lewis of Culver Props in Roland, Missouri. Gonna get a short factory tour and get a little bit more like a behind-the-scenes look of what she does here. You've probably seen her on Instagram. She posts nearly daily on Instagram, Facebook, and I think she just started a YouTube channel. Yep. To kind of give everybody a look at what she does on a daily basis. And so can you tell me a little bit about how you got started? I know that your grandfather started this business with your family, but just like a short summary of how you got into this.
Sure. So Grandpa was a crop duster, and he got...
So you can see right there how shaky that camera was. You would not believe how much the comments blew up attacking me about how shaky that camera angle was, right? And also it was out of focus and stuff. Audio was poor, me kind of like stumbling through things. But hey, this is how we start, okay? So showing a little embarrassing moments of my life, but this video, I want to kind of break it apart just for a second. One, the intro was very, very long, right? That was way too long. You want to shorten that up to about 6 seconds or 6 to 10 seconds or so forth. But part of the reason why this video did so well, and it's one of our first ones out, is it crossed many different genres, right? This woman, Elena here, very talented, family business kind of passed down through the generations, but there's woodworking. Later in the video, she shows us that she's doing machine work. She has to machine this propeller for an airplane. Obviously, she's a woman that's working in this field of aviation, which is interesting. So there's just a lot of different things that it crossed many genres. So I think it got us 100,000 views in a matter of like a week or two, which for a new channel is just like really amazing. I think it's sitting just shy of 1 million views now, 8 years later. And I probably need to go back and do a follow-up with her, because this was basically kind of like a run-through from start to finish, kind of, because this is the shaving and forming of the propeller. There's other things she does, like finishing and painting and packaging before it goes out the door, that we weren't able to capture. But we were able to capture the rough cuts, if you will, of making an airplane propeller. So again, just want to share that is how you can get started with this kind of stuff and just roll with it. So we'll talk about Google, YouTube, Google AdSense for just a minute. And some people were asking yesterday about, what do you need to get started? So I looked it up last night because things change. But currently, it's still you need 1,000 subs. You need 4,000 long-form watch time in hours in a 12-month period. Or you need 10 million shorts in a 90-day period. Okay? Now, just to kind of explain that just a little bit, let me pull up a screenshot. Watch time hours. All right, so what does that mean exactly? So this is a video that came out for us about a week ago, 16,000 views. You can see watch time hours, 1.3 thousand. So it's not as crazy as you think trying to get to that number of 4,000 long form hours, especially within a year, right? So you do 4 videos like that, boom, you're monetized. Well, as long as you're getting the subs too, right? But I'm just saying it doesn't take a whole lot of time and creating content and getting yourself out there to get monetized. And even when you do get monetized, of course, that doesn't mean all of a sudden you're making bank, right? You might make $15 or something like that, or over 6 months you might make a couple $100. It takes a while to build up a library and momentum and so forth. All right, and something else that I look at too, well, we'll go into some of the metrics here in just a minute. But starting out your channel, I want to talk about for a second just some real basic things, and that is, what is in a name, okay? And I say that, like, in one way it doesn't matter, because I've seen people name their channel like 001, or there's this one guy I followed for a little while because he kind of started when I did. It was Mojo Grip, and like, Mojo Grip doesn't mean anything to me. Maybe it means something to him. His name was Mike Ojo, and he somehow got Mojo Grip out of that, right? Really, really nice guy, truly. New into aviation. He was kind of like a businessman / turned into aviation stuff, and it was kind of following his journey. But long story short, having that Mojo Grip name didn't really mean anything, and it didn't really matter. And I say that because he ended up, like 2 or 3 years later, growing in popularity. He made it on the cover of Popular Mechanics magazine. So, he grew really quick, and there's a picture, I think the cover is with him holding a propeller, and he was building an airplane. So the name doesn't really matter as far as being able to grow and that kind of stuff, but I want you to at least consider other things as far as naming your channel. And that's one of the things why I really looked hard into the name. It all depends on what you want to do with it, right? If it's just for a fun or hobby type thing, then it still doesn't matter. But if you want to, like, I was looking at from the very beginning of becoming like a video magazine, right? And that's why I chose the Experimental Aircraft channel. Also going back to the Discovery channel, watching all those shows, and also tied it into like the TV world of being a channel. And now, years later, trying to work with different advertisers and sponsors, I think that helps as a brand to be a branded name when you go to talk to your advertisers and get ads, is to have like an established name brand. So just consider that. So along your path of trying to figure out and discover what you want to do, if you haven't already, I've watched lots and lots and lots of, we'll go into that for a second. You need to find your space, right? Define what you want to go after. What is your passion? The mission for the channel, whether it's educational, entertainment, how-to. Obviously, that's how YouTube started out, as being a really big popular entity, is how do I do this? How do I change my oil? The search engine. Because again, Google owns YouTube, right? They're the two biggest search engines in the world. Consider what topics you want to get into, and so forth. What got me into this, and if you can do this, replicate this, is just find a need, find a gap, and fill it. Okay. So my channel is the Experimental Aircraft Channel, or EAC. There's an entity, organization that's been around since before most of us were born, especially since before I was born, called the EAA, which is the Experimental Aircraft Association, and they put out this magazine which has been relabeled over the years. Currently it's Sport Aviation, and it has obviously articles about people building aircraft and some news stuff and stuff like that. But me personally, I always turn to the very back of the book, the magazine, and there's one picture and one paragraph of a builder and what he built in his journey, which honestly, usually it's that builder that wrote in and sent in his own story and they just print it, okay? But me seeing this, growing up over the years, I always wanted more. I wanted more of their story. And so that was my idea, is like, well, maybe I'll grab a camera and learn some software and just go around interviewing people and having a deeper dive into their story. And well, there's other people interested in the same thing that I was interested in. And 8 years later, I'm providing for my family, doing something that I just like, what if I do this? So you might have a really good idea, and maybe even God planted that seed as an idea for you. Run with it. You can always pivot later. And I can tell more of that story a little bit later on, right? In this topic of what to cover, what's going to be your mission for your channel, though, you might ask the question, like, how diverse can I go, right? So let me give you a good, simple analogy I've used probably 100 times by now. Think back to TV. I don't know about you all, but as a little kid, Dad used to, yell out the window, and I would turn the antenna, and we'd get in like 12 or 24 channels, whatever it was for TV, right? And on TV, you had just this limited number of channels to see everything that you wanted to watch. So there was a lot of things condensed into all these channels. Enter in cable TV years and years later, which I was so glad to get rid of the antenna, so I didn't have to go outside and adjust it. You've got 300 channels of nothing's on, right, is how I look at it. But it became more specific. You watch sports channel or HGTV channels or that kind of stuff, right? 300 channels. Well, now enter into YouTube, and it's literally almost infinity, all right? So when you're thinking about how diverse you can go, unfortunately, how YouTube works, especially the algorithms and that kind of stuff, you really do want to be super, super hyper niche, all right? And that's okay. Even I, covering aviation, my world is the experimental kit world, the kit builder world. And I try to cover experimental light sport, which is like a division of ultralights, which are those really, really tiny single-seater airplanes, and then to be a little bit broader, new technology, because there's some new airplanes coming into the industry. But that's kind of as wide as I need to go. If I want to start doing something different, especially going to certified aircraft, start another channel. Okay, it becomes too broad, and the algorithms with YouTube, they don't know where to place you in the audience. And then all of a sudden you start getting less views because it's just like, I don't know where to put you. Unfortunately, that's how it's working. All right, so again, super niche is good, and super niche is okay. Some real basic things I'll show here real quick on your homepage, right? This is called your banner on your homepage. Again, this goes back to kind of like branding yourself. You can put whatever you want on here, but if you've got a mission to try to get sponsors and advertisers and things that you want to try to have it a little bit polished, right? And honestly, I could use an update. I think I've gotten a little more gray hair, I lost a little weight, and it's time for an update on that. But this is the landing page where everybody's going to find you. Some people put on a trailer, which I had one on. I need to update that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you do a trailer, like a channel trailer, make sure it's very specific and really does explain what you're trying to accomplish there. So as far as like how to set up your channel and not go through all the prompts, you can search that, guys. All right, there's hundreds and hundreds of videos out there, and I'll give you a couple ideas right now on where you can find some really great information. regarding that. And some people that I've been or following for a long time. And you've probably seen these guys if you've done any research at all. So Think Media, Sean Cannell here. He's been around for a very long time. He's based out of Las Vegas. Ironically, I won't say ironically, but he's a Christian. I've actually been on his show a couple times. He has this thing called Coffee with Cannell, and he interviews people that are upcoming in YouTube and that kind of stuff. And he's got, I mean, probably like 1 million hours of watch time. And he's a really good source for learning stuff about cameras, equipment, lighting, podcasting. He also has a second channel of Think Media Podcast, which is the long form of content, which usually goes 45 minutes to an hour. So check out Sean, Think Media, again, to learn more about that kind of stuff. And then rolling into TED Talks. I've spent a lot of time, to be honest, when I first started trying to figure out what to do. It's a good source of just like business type of stuff. If you haven't heard of TED, you should have by now, but you can search anything. There's probably somebody that's given a talk on TED Talks. And one of the things that I searched really for like a month at a time, like several months, and trying to figure this out is what type of business to start, because I wasn't thinking I was going to do YouTube, but what direction to go. And people are saying, follow your passion, don't follow your passion. Like, and honestly, it's like a 50-50 mix of what people are saying. And just to share with you, after 8 years of doing this, which side to go with to follow something that is your passion. Because the pushback is this: if you choose something that is your passion, then you're making your passion your work, and then the thing that was fun isn't going to be fun, and then you just kind of ruined your life because your hobby is now work, right? There is a little bit of truth to that. At some point in time, anything does become work. I mean, it is work, right? But I want to push back against that thinking as far as like the passion versus don't follow your passion. There's a lot of peaks and valleys in this, okay? A lot. And if you aren't truly invested in it with your heart, then you're not going to carry through, right? So I would say to suggest to you to do follow your passion, because that is going to bridge the gap between the peaks and the valleys, whatever the word is, valleys, to bridge that gap there and get you through the hard times, right? And I think also thinking the long game, that is going to make you win the race, because so many other people just check out after a couple years, because this is work. And oftentimes it's not as much money as people think there is in it. So they're like, I can make 100 grand doing something else, which you probably could, make a lot more money doing something else. But honestly, I have way more fun, have way more flexibility in my time, my schedule with my family. So that has a value to me as well that really is almost immeasurable, okay? So, all right, talking about social media and that kind of stuff. So Gary Vee, I don't know if he's a Christian. I don't want to label him as so, but he has kind of a mouth, FYI, and he has no filter. But he's actually very good at what he does and what he knows. This is a clip from something very recent. His recent stuff has kind of changed a little bit direction. I know he's trying to stay relevant, but if you look up some like Gary Vee from like 5 years ago and just binge watch some of his stuff, he truly does have an understanding of social media. And he's very motivational on where to go and where to use it. And I've learned a lot from him. And he has Vayner Media, I think, in New York. And he works with some like really top people on promoting their businesses and stuff like that. So like he legitimately knows his stuff, all right? So there's somebody to follow as far as social media, and this will help you in promoting your channel. As far as like camera work, I think everybody's heard of Peter McKinnon by now, if you've ever held a camera, just trying to search. But he's a real talent, and I really love his work. And if nothing else, just watch some of his stuff to be inspired and keep being inspired, get new ideas, and trying to get different camera angles throughout your journey, if you will. All right, so going back into kind of managing what you're doing in your channel, I want to share something maybe you haven't thought of. Let's talk about playlists for a second, right? And let's see, screen captures. Show you a little hack that I kind of figured out here. This is going to show what our web page looks like briefly, which is, nice moving slideshow of what we have going on. We post our latest videos, and then our sponsors are on our landing page that we work with right there. And then we've got some other things we're doing. We have a podcast that we do. So over here in the channel area, if you pause that for a second, again, I set this up as the experimental aircraft channel, thinking I'd do multiple things, but still staying in my bandwidth of niche, right? So the way I set up our page in this channel button, and you can do this on your website too, and utilize playlists on YouTube, which automatically separates your videos. And when you go to upload a video, you can select from your playlist where to drop that into. You can set it into one playlist or multiple. All right, so like you see here, I've got a list of how it's made factory tours, experimental aircrafts, ultralight engines, prototype, and so forth, right? So if somebody clicks on one of these, it brings them to another page on our page, and from there, gives you a little, preview, and it launches you directly over to YouTube. And check this out. So YouTube automatically, when you create this playlist and you drop it into that bucket each time, creates a library on that specific topic that you've set apart. So if I were to do this on my own website, honestly, it'd be quite a bit of work, all right? And I know it would have a different look, but just for simplicity, and it's accomplishing the same thing, you can have this directed straight from your website linked to that specific playlist, which is already cataloged for you and your audience, okay? So that is a really helpful tool that I found to drive traffic, back and forth from your website to your channel and so forth. And I forget how many is in each one, but you can see they're all separated there. All right, so talking about, there's several different ones there. Oh, also, I'm not sure if YouTube is still doing this, but I read about this, and it's another reason why I did this. If you create, as you're trying to create new content, supposedly if you create a new playlist, even if it's from older content, YouTube looks at that as if you just dropped a new video and will promote a playlist as well. So it might be another helpful tip if you're low on content to create. I mean, you don't want to just create 1,000 playlists, right? But I'm just saying, as you're getting going, that will help build attention to your channel. All right, so something to, so I've made some content, now what, right? I would say if you want to truly get rolling onto a schedule, and it's good to have a schedule, try to have about a month's worth of content ready. Let's say like I don't care if you're doing a weekly or every other week, try to get to weekly if you can, but have maybe a month's worth ready to act as a buffer, right? So you're not kind of chasing content to catch up with yourself. And not only that, but it'll be more for people to watch and get kind of on a momentum for more content coming out. And more content means more views. If you can do more, and you have the time for it, do more. Like we are on a weekly upload schedule, to be honest, for what we do, capture, edit with the sponsors and all that kind of stuff. Like that in itself is a lot of work. It usually takes me a day to day and a half to edit. Maybe I'm not the fastest edit in the world, right? I mean, our shows are about 18 to 20 minutes. But then after, doing the intro and adding sponsors and the outro and all this, that's how much it takes. And you cut it up for social media. But if you have the ability to do more, in fact, we're considering trying to find an editor to do double what we're doing to basically pay for the editor. It just takes time to get there, though. So on the topic of content, I would say, again, stay on topic. I know we have a lot of different interests. I have a lot of different interests, but kind of really reel that in on what you want to. Whatever you put on YouTube, let that be, your best work and your most focused work. Okay, there's some stuff you could share on social that might go a little bit broader or a little bit less polished and stuff like that, but as a rule, try to have YouTube as like your show. Like you're completely polished, ready to go TV show, series, film. Like This is what you'd bring to the Blockbuster type thing, right? And keep everything else to social media. All right, let's talk about some analytics for a second. All right, I know some people like to check that out, and it does explain some things. Okay, let's talk about, where do I want to start with this? Okay, it might not be surprising to you to see that the age and gender of our channel is primarily male, all right, 92%. And then going from there, you look at the age. Now, I'm showing this not necessarily to pick out any one, male, female watching, but what's really important to me more so is the age, okay? You can see we kind of progressively step up through all ages, but our primary still, our top is 65 and older. And I think, considering the genre, that's because airplanes are expensive and kit building takes time. So who has both time and money? Usually older people, right? Retired older people, and that's fine. But I would say use this metric to kind of gain knowledge of your followers. And you can't choose who watches you, right? You're gaining an audience. But the audience that you are gaining, you want to serve, right? So I'm saying this to say that we have a good step up of ages, but our primary most watched is 65 and older. That means that I'm probably not going to be putting a bunch of like dubstep music or dance music in my videos, or maybe really heavy rock and roll stuff, because it's just going to be noise, and it's not going to be a good experience audibly for them. So just one key factor to consider when you're choosing music. And different stylizations. As an example, I think like Mr. Beast is known for doing like 1 second, 3 second change video clips really, really rapid fast, okay? And I mean, even I do that sometimes to the beat of a song, but not like just that quickly. Again, the older crowd is not going to find that as entertaining or educational when you can't even focus on something for longer than a few seconds. All right, so just use this metric to consider who your followers are and your audience is. And I think I've got a couple clips here to show, but another thing to look at is down here, the bottom, the geographies. I was surprised to find out, because the US has a lot of aviation, right? And you would think that we would like own the market for the kit builder aviation side, but you can see we're only at 64%. That means like the rest of the world, divided up very small increments, is watching this channel. And that just blew me away. That only, it used to be about 50%, so we're growing in the US, but so consider that also, especially if you're going to have things translated or the auto-translate. Definitely utilize that, because people want to see the subtitles to be able to understand.
I was wondering, you've got a Latin American audience that maybe this, like Argentina and other places. Have you thought about getting somebody to do your stuff in Spanish? You have your brand, but you'd probably reach twice as many people in the world.
Yeah, the question is, have you considered doing stuff with other countries and translating? The short answer is yes. I've even wanted to reach out to some others there that are doing aviation and kind of trade content for advertising, which I'm actively working on that. It's just hard to find people that are willing to do the video, ironically enough. All right, but yes, that is something of consideration. So that's the geographies, which I think I just had zoomed in a little bit closer on that. Yeah, well, you can see some of that here. No subtitles, 84%, English 14%. So there's some other metrics here you can look at as far as subtitles, right? All right, I'm gonna show you some more analytics here real quick. All right, I think this is like the landing page, the overview, right? So you can see, I think if any of you were here yesterday, share, we're kind of coming out at like a slower time over Christmas holidays. So those views is a rolling average of 30 days. And it's usually more like 300,000. So we're kind of like we'll be coming up out of that. And then the watch time hours, subscribers, again, that kind of drops off based on views. We're usually averaging somewhere between 1,200 to 2,000 new subscribers per month. We just broke 200,000 like a month or two ago after 8 years. I know it's a slow go, but you know, we've made it. You can see the estimated revenue, which again is a rolling 30-day average. It just is like moving this rolling 30 days. So it's not completely accurate all the time based on, you could put out a video this week that really spikes that. And again, we're coming out of a lull, so that is usually somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. Again, just from Google AdSense, not from advertisers and so forth. But again, small, super niche channel is focusing on a very, even in aviation, this is a niche within a niche, right? Aviation is a niche. And I'm focusing just on the experimental kit home builder market, which is super hyper niche, okay? But even doing that, it's possible to make an income out of it, okay? Let's see. So that's the analytics, and there's a lot of people that go really diving deep into this. Just, it's not really worth your time. Make more content, and that will improve your analytics, okay? If that makes simple sense. Let's talk about the face of your channel for a second, kind of a different way. So one of the things that I looked at during, well, here's a topic, right? Faceless channels versus a spokesperson type channel, right? And I know there's channels that are doing well in either. And it goes back to, again, what you are wanting to do, what you're trying to accomplish. And I think the faceless things do well. You know, they get views, and it's about the content. And I think if you're focusing just on a faceless type of channel, that your stylization and format is probably what you need to work on as far as your signature, all right? If you don't want to be the face of it and be in front of the camera, then your style needs to be your signature, if that makes any sense to anybody, okay? If you are a spokesperson or a face channel, your personality is really big, and don't be afraid to let that shine. I kind of flipped the script on YouTube. I didn't make it about me. I made it about the cool things that you're doing in your home, your garage. I'm in it just long enough to be kind of recognizable and do an intro, and then I'm out, and I let my talent be the star of my show. Okay, you can take that approach, which I've really enjoyed, and I've been blessed to typically 99.9% of the time, find people that are okay to talk on camera. There's some that really, really don't, and I'm kind of like, gosh, I wish I would have, figured something out, because then I have to do a lot more voiceovers or carry the conversation through. It's a lot more work, but usually I'm able to find people that like to talk on camera. But going back to being you, the personality, and I still think that's the path for any either individual or corporation, is to have a spokesperson as the person. I mean, think of like, I don't know, Geico, the lizard. I mean, even Geico has something as an icon as their spokesperson, right? But going through those TED Talks and stuff, and watching those videos, and then just kind of search on the internet of what other people are doing, I came across this guy. I don't have a clip of him. Very early on, it was that dude in blue, which is like a really odd YouTube channel name, but I took some ideas from him, right? As a young guy that would just do interviews with people in cars, and ironically enough, people let him test drive those cars around the block, and he'd do, like a review on the car, and he had a blue hat. That's why he's a dude in blue. So I'm like, I'm not gonna be blue, but I got me a red hat, okay? And I wore this in I still wear hats all the time. I'm also kind of balding, so becoming iconic, right? And that's kind of the point. And that's, if nothing else, take away that. This young guy wearing the blue hat, doing these things, you become iconic on screen. Well, he goes out to all these different car shows and events, and he arrives, and just walking the crowd, people are easily able to spot you because you have become iconic. Your avatar is you here and here, and it works. When I show up at air shows and walk around, I kind of wear the same thing, and people spot you out of a crowd and very easily walk up to you and say, hey, I watched your videos, nice work, or hey, can I get a picture, or so it's just another form of simple marketing that really does work, right? Even if you don't really want to be in the spotlight, if you're doing something, sorry, you're going to get noticed for the good work that you're doing, okay? Let's go into how to promote your work, all right? And I don't have anything for that right there, but I mean, everybody's aware of all the different apps out there. TikTok is blowing up right now, and I honestly stayed away from TikTok when it first launched. I actually signed on, started an account, and then posted a couple videos, but this is when it first launched, and quite frankly, like most of the people who were on there then was just like a bunch of dancing girls. I'm like, I don't need to be here in this space, so I quickly just signed off and never went back to it. It has greatly changed since then, but you know, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we have done most of our work on Facebook and Instagram over the years, and then YouTube itself it used to be community, now they just call it posts, where it does show up in the feed as like a new video or a new upload, whether it's a picture, and you can kind of interact with your community that way. That's a good thing. But Facebook groups, how I started out, and this was kind of the story that I'm gonna forget Drake was talking about earlier, where he had a job, but he had enough work where he could sit there. That was me for a little bit, where I got my work done, and there was like some just lull time, and I would jump on and interact on social media for a little while. And I just lived in Facebook groups. Okay, but here's the thing about Facebook groups. Nobody likes to be spammed, right? And I've even seen it last year. I was hunting down like Christian film stuff, and like there's a lot of spamming going on in the Christian film stuff, right? Like it's too much. Right? It's just too much. These are all communities, right? That's the whole purpose of social media, is to develop community and interaction, right? So if you're going to go into a group to promote yourself, you need to give first, right? You need to help that community grow, be beneficial to that community. So yes, you may not always post your video. Maybe you're just in there interacting, or you found something really cool to be helpful to the group. Like, be that person. Like, in your mind's eye, maybe try to be. Maybe you didn't start that group on Facebook, but try to outdo the person that did by benefiting that community. Does that make sense? Because that way, when you do post something, you're not going to look as spammy, because you're there to help everybody else share these cool experiences and stuff like that, right? So that's a good place to grow. Collaborations, I've done a couple over the years with non-competing. Then I've had a couple people recently want to do some collabs, and honestly, some people just want to try to get your subscribers, and it's kind of a selfish thing. Where it can work, where it's somebody who's not directly competing with you, but it's kind of a similar genre, and you know, I think that can be helpful, but to be honest, I haven't done a lot of that. Something to talk about real quick as far as Facebook and ads and kind of like bifurcating what you do. And I've seen this, and businesses do this too. In fact, I'll probably be talking about this very soon. What you create on YouTube, and I know you're trying to get people over from social to YouTube, but don't always, you have to kind of really govern yourself of just putting a link. Like if you're trying to promote something and you want people's attention, you have to get their attention then. And what I mean by that is you have to have action, you have to have video playing, right? Not just a link to go click this link to go to this platform, wait for this platform to load, wait for this video to start to show what you're doing. You lost half of your any possibilities right there, because who wants to go through all that work? If you're trying to promote something on a certain platform, promote it right there. Okay, maybe it's just a tease, maybe it's 15 seconds of the 30 minutes, but do it right there, okay? And then along with that, you know, on your own page, if you want to put something new that people are following you, sure, put the link that brings you over to the new thing. But you're trying to attract attention to yourself, that's turning people away. You're wasting your time, okay? I'll just say it right there, you're wasting your time. And the platforms don't want to promote that either, because the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, they don't want you to go off platform. I mean, that's why the death scroll happens, because they want you to stay on platform all the time. In fact, try this out yourselves. Find a link that somebody shared on YouTube, follow that over, and you're like, oh, cool, this is a nice video. You want to like it or comment? No, you have to log in. Facebook has gotten smart enough that they don't have you, I forget how that works with your web browser, but it pulls the credentials out. So you have to re-log in to even play with it anyway. So again, you're literally you can't even follow it. Do you follow me? okay? Boosted ads, I think can work on certain, I've considered that recently, especially some videos that I'm about to put out that if I either worked with a sponsor or something like that I want to, you could use boosted ads as kind of like as a trailer, okay? If you want to think in that process. And it might be worthy of you to spend, I don't know, $10, $20, $30 on something that you think might go bigger, right? Consider the movie industry, right? And then consider YouTube. If we had the dollars and cents, we had this really cool project that we did on YouTube. I mean, what does the film industry spend in time and money? Like probably like $1 million in advertising in like, I think 9 months in advance of releasing. Meanwhile, we're releasing one video a week and throwing it out there at the exact moment, and then afterwards sharing it on social. Like imagine if we were to flip that and advertise what we just did for a month in advance, and it's gonna launch at this date. Like how many more views? You know, so it is kind of same thing but different. All right, so that's where to promote your work. As you're starting out, you know, how do you get in front of people? What's worked for me is just simply boots on the ground, elbow rubbing opportunities, okay? Trade shows. Our trade shows are, you know, the fly-ins, the big fly-ins. There's 2 big ones for us. We got Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is AirVenture, and we got Lakeland, Florida, which is Sun and Fun, and like literally millions of people show up there. And maybe you're not gonna get the audience that's there, but it's a great opportunity to start talking to sponsors and advertisers. You walk up to every single one of those booths. Now, it's going to be, you know, whatever you're interested in, not airplanes, of course, but whatever trade industry you can attach to your channel. And this kind of pushes the cold call away. You've already met the person in person. You've had a conversation about what you're doing, what they're doing, back and forth. Don't just talk about yourself, of course. Find out the ins and outs of their company. Get their card, and just talk to everybody you can. Then 30 to 60 days later, send an email. Don't get a response. Make a phone call. You can find somebody to get on the phone, okay? And then that's how you start gaining a little momentum, and you're able to get a sponsor or an advertiser. And you know, starting out, you might start very low, but you have to start somewhere, right? The other thing you could do in your own genre, if you will, is host an event around whatever it is that you're doing. Again, serve the community, right? Try to become the subject matter expert better than the next guy, and if you can create your own event and advertise that, boost that on social, then you're gonna become known more and more and more, okay? Is it difficult in the beginning? It is, absolutely, right? But the point is, when you get going, is to be seen. I went everywhere to everything and was seen at all these places. In fact, some of these like National Stole things, like, Bryan, you're everywhere. How are you everywhere? I'm like, that's kind of the point. You know, show up and be seen. Capture what's going on. I slept in tents. The very first air show I ever went to was in 2018, because it's not the very first air show. I'm sorry, the EAA air show in Oshkosh, because we've got Sun and Fun in Florida, so there's no point, I thought, to go there. But I did go. I took an airline ticket, and I packed the smallest tent I could find into my baggage, in my pillow, and like I literally brought my tent with me on the airline. I've slept in tents, I slept in my truck, and in my truck, in the back of my truck. I've froze, I've sweated. Like, it does take some sweat equity to be everywhere, all right? You have to invest in the long suffering, all right? You have to be willing to do what others haven't done in this space is what gets you attention. Some of the costs involved, you guys are probably aware, like I use Adobe Premiere Pro, Blackmagic, DaVinci Resolve is something also really powerful to look into. In fact, I might be switching to that because Adobe keeps updating randomly and moving things, and it's so annoying. I use Epidemic Sound. So, you know, Adobe Premiere, that's about, I think it's like $180, $200 a year. Epidemic Sound is about the same thing. The biggest cost overhead for us is travel, because we have to travel out to get our content, right? And then, you know, camera gear and external hard drives, that kind of stuff. We kind of talked about sponsors. I'm going to show you something else you can do. I know we're starting to run low on time. Some other things you can do to create a little bit of cash flow is do some promo video work, right? And this was actually kind of attached to a sponsor we had. I kind of worked it into the deal, and we'll talk about you can barter too. So here's a little promo video I created for this sponsor.
As people, we have learned the importance of a good diet, routine checkups, and physical maintenance. As with our vehicles, we do the recommended oil and filter changes, rotate tires, and have our mechanics perform routine maintenance internally. We inspect our aircraft before each and every flight and have our mechanics service, inspect, and annual our airframes, our engines, and our propellers. But when that engine reaches TBO or fails, that's when Airworks gets to work. Sun and CV616 cylinder home. Surdy 3.5 valve guide machine. Custom quick-way valve grinder. Chucker lathe. Bridgeport milling machine. Sun and case home. RMC crankshaft grinder. Airworks, powering your flight.
All right, so that is something I did as part of a deal for advertising. It was a monthly fee plus I'm like, I'll do you a promo video, right? And that one video I shot in one day, 3 different locations, guys using nothing other than these 2 cameras, okay? That's it. And I know it could probably polish more than it was. I've learned a lot of things since then. This is years ago. But that one video, I kind of shot myself in the foot because after that, he didn't really need me anymore. He shared that on social media, and he was already doing okay, but after that, yeah, things really, really took off from him. I incorporated everything about him. He was a former Marine, very proud Marine, very precise in what he does, and he's also into, fast cars, and he was a helicopter pilot, and then machine work, and I put that all together in the package. I let him do the voiceover. I scripted the voiceover for him and put that out there, and his business just exploded, right? Which also goes to show, like, we need to start charging more for these type of promo ads, right, guys? I know we're running out of time, but just real quick, on working with sponsors and advertisers, we talked about like a warm call, going to the different shows and be able to speak to them, when to ask for sponsors, right? Let me just tell you right now, not in the 4th quarter, okay? I've learned through the years that they have their advertising budgets. Even smaller companies kind of have an advertising budget. They've already spent their money by the 4th quarter. So you're wasting your time even picking up the phone in the last quarter of a year. Where do you want to ask is in the 1st quarter, probably within middle January into February. That's the time to pick up the phone or start sending some emails because they've already had their meetings and they figured out their budget, and you can kind of work that all the way through into the middle of the 3rd quarter, and then you're done. So that's your timeline you have to work with different sponsors and try to get ads. And going back to this, part of this deal is a monthly paid thing that we got for this advertiser, but I also actually part of this promo videos I bartered, and that's something that's really, really, really big and can be helpful for you all, especially if you need something. Like some of the stuff that I've built my airplane with has been from barter trade. The engine, he does engines, right? I got an aircraft engine out of this deal, just to give you an idea, and they're not cheap. Okay, so don't rule the barter system out because because if you're talking retail to retail, it's really not costing either one of you the full retail price. So it's kind of a win-win situation for both sides. And we are running out of time, so yeah, let's start the Q&A before we have to go to lunch.
What would you say to someone that's been growing their followers for 10 years, but the subscribers, like, it's just been the same number, and you've been putting out content consistently?
Okay, so the question is, somebody has been doing YouTube for 10 years and their subscriber base isn't growing. Is it not growing at all? Okay. Are they getting views?
Before it was like 500 views.
Okay. So the answer is that it's growing very slowly still. I would say change it up a little bit, make it, look at it from a different angle, different perspective, and incorporate a couple of new things. Maybe trends have changed a little bit. And also I would say probably do that and also double up on putting the content out there. It's kind of like a trial, but I would say if it's, even us after 8 years and 200,000, like our new subscriber is starting to slow down a little bit. But we also, at some point in time, depending on what niche it is, you are going to saturate the market. All right, I'm not sure what your niche is, but at some point in time, you will saturate the interest. But there's also certain interests are cyclic, okay? Like, we're looking into getting a camper again to tow around to go to these air shows and film festivals again. So we've been watching a lot more content on campers and what type of styles and like bunk room type of campers. And this is another season of our life that we're binge watching this. Well, we're gonna get a camper, and then guess what? We're not gonna watch camper videos again for a long time. Any other questions?
You said you run boost ads sometimes for your videos as trailers, but did you say you posted the link for that, or did you say you posted a clip of the video with the link?
So the question is, running boosted ads on Facebook and sharing your video, how do I go about doing that? And how I would approach that is, again, when you're on platform and you're advertising and promoting something, you need something to catch people's attention, okay? And that's gonna be video. It's gonna be a short clip. If you're wanting to drive traffic over there, yes, you can put a link, but you're kind of doing both. In that, I would describe a very catching narrative there, and below that, at the bottom, have, follow the link here, because even on boosted ad, you can still click links. So you're kind of getting both. You're getting the action, which is getting their attention, and you're also kind of showing what the thing is. But if you want more, which a lot of the boosted ads are wanting more, whether you click on it to get an email or click on it to the website, like that's kind of the point. So absolutely, you could include the link. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't just do a link by itself, because you're not really, what are you showing? You know what I mean? It's like, the thumbnail challenge. And you're hoping that one thumbnail is going to describe everything to people, and then again, you're going off platform. There's so much more to share, but I think we're out of time. Is there any other questions we've got for, yeah?
What's something that you struggled with in YouTube, and like how did you get out of it? Like how did like God provide your the way out of it? Like,
If you have time after, I can have like a heart-to-heart with you on that. Because it's a longer conversation. But the quick, short answer would be this, okay? And I think that's for everybody. It's just talking on camera, and like, truth be told, and I've met a lot of YouTubers over the years, maybe not surprisingly, most of them are introverts. And the reason being because it's just you and the camera. That's it. Not thinking about the millions of other people that might be watching, but in that moment, it's just you and the camera. You know, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not truly introverted. I'm not extroverted. My wife is a lovely introvert. But I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, after doing a show, like, I love, talking to people, but I get burnt out from that. Like, I kind of need to go become an introvert for, like, a couple days, and then back to in the middle again. I do love talking to people and interacting in the community, but I just said that to say if you are introverted, doesn't matter. There's a lot of highly successful people in YouTube that it's just one-on-one with the camera and they're getting it done. Okay? All right. Thanks, you all. Appreciate coming out.